certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. We are talking about top 12 movies starring wrestlers. And I've got a fun panel for this. Over here we've got Austin. How's it going?
Hello, it might be Ref Pez this evening. I'm ready to call it right down the middle, Daddy, and make sure these guys don't put any shenanigans in their picks. You know what I'm saying?
Over to the right, we've got Jordan. Jordan, how's it going?
And I'm ready to cheat whenever Pez's back is turned to me. Pull some hair, choke him on the ropes, do whatever I gotta do.
I didn't see that.
Moving along, we've got Steve. Steve, how's it going?
And he's muted. Of course he's muted, Macy.
Of course I'm muted. You know, you can't have Rankum without me speaking when it's muted. So, I mean,
Yes.
I'm keeping the tradition. Somebody goes, I'm ready to shoot this match. Ready, guys? Come on. I've got my camera ready. Come on. Let's go.
Yeah.
This way? That way? Maybe? Watch out. Got you. All right.
And next up, we've got Jacob. Jacob, how's it going?
Doing good. I'm the guy who's sitting 2 rows behind a dude with a huge sign, so I can't see anything.
And last but not least, literally coming in just as we went live. We got how's it going?
I was actually in a fucking food coma right now. I was passed out over some wings, and I literally just woke up 5 minutes and saw the message. So
It's all good. Your camera's actually not turned on for some reason.
yeah, I know. Yeah, like I said, I was passed out, so I was.
But that's all good.
I'm just getting put in shirt on.
Passed out naked? How's that an excuse?
Yeah,
I did the overtime shift, and then I just got in. You know. So.
All right. So, but anyway, and because this. Because this category is such a broad category, I decided to do a little bit of criteria for this, just to make it a little bit more streamlined. So basically, if they just a cameo in the movie without any sort of major reason for being there, then they don't count. There will be I'll probably, I'm not going to do the examples that I did in the chat because it will give away some options that may come up. So they have to be named in the movie, so they can't just be policeman number 5. If they have they don't have to have a large role in the movie. They can just have a small role as long as they're named. And also, but the one that's going to be interesting because this list has the potential of being just a Rock, Cena, Austin, Bautista list. So, one movie per wrestler. And yeah. And as for the usual rules, because we've got an even number of people, the person who nominated the movie, they've it'll come down to the other 5 on the panel whether it makes the list. If it gets majority, yes, it makes the list. And yeah, but with that being said, Austin, what is the first movie you're going to bring up?
Fantastic. Well, let's get things started with legitimately probably the best movie that will be nominated this evening, the most purely cinema movie that happens to have a wrestler. I'm going to go with The Godfather. Yes, folks, The Godfather features a wrestler. Lenny Montana, the Zebra Kid, plays Luca Brasi. Yes, Luca Brasi, the mob enforcer. Yes, in a very critical role in the movie, actually, even though he only lasts about a half an hour or so before he gets whacked. But his whacking leads to a very prominent plot point in the movie because without Luca Brasi, they could not kill Vito Corleone because he would go on a rampage in revenge. So Luca Brasi has a great looming presence over the movie, and Lenny Montana, it's literally one of the first early movies that ever feature a wrestler, and a lot of people don't know that, maybe people watching, but I'm going to nominate Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather featuring Lenny Montana, the Zebra Kid. What do you guys think?
Jordan, what do you think about The Godfather?
I mean, yeah, it's a little meandering. No, I mean, The Godfather is fantastic. It's one of the greatest films of all time. I figured someone might mention it. It's one of those little fun, oh, did you know there's a wrestler in it? Kind of fun facts a lot of people have picked up on. So, yeah, it's a fantastic film. It's a smaller, but still kind of a pivotal role here for it. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Steve, what do you say about The Godfather?
Definitely, I was definitely going to mention that eventually if it was going to be passed over into this list. Lenny Montana definitely has a prominent role. I mean, you don't have Luca Brasi sleep with the fishes, and that becomes a movie vernacular or a vernacular pop culture without Lenny Montana's performance. And for sure, I would have had him listed on there if Austin didn't mention it. So I'm definitely approving on that.
Jacob, what do you say about The Godfather?
I am one of those people who did not know that whatever that guy, I forgot his name. I already blanked on his name.
Lenny Montana.
Lenny Montana. Thank you so much.
Luca Brasi.
But I was building up my short list this morning, and I saw that on there. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't realize that there was a wrestler in that film. However, I have not watched The Godfather, so I cannot vote on this one.
Ryan, what do you say about The Godfather?
Well, this is definitely getting a yes for me. I mean, this is obviously one film I'm going, yeah, you find out later on that the actor is a wrestler, but even then, he has a pivotal part in this film. Otherwise, even though it's still a great film and you have a very iconic moment, but as before, if Luca Brasi isn't killed, the opening to kill Vito Corleone is not like within the opportunity to kill Vito Corleone is gone. Sure, there would have been other opportunities, but that iconic moment where he's gunned down in the street in front of Fredo, it is something that elevates. It does elevate Michael to become more involved in the family business. So I give this a yes.
And yeah, if Austin did bring out The Godfather and Stephen would bring up The Godfather, I would have brought up The Godfather.
Hell yeah!
I mean, this is my favorite movie according to Tournament Fights. And this is a really great movie. So yeah, Godfather makes it.
Excellent.
Jordan, was your next movie you're going to bring up?
All right, it was mentioned basically in your rundown. Somebody's going to mention it. Might as well be me. Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler. You got a couple roles in this. Of course, you got Ernest the Cat Miller. You've got Necro Butcher. Obviously, a bunch more smaller roles. Even R-Truth kind of has a pivotal moment in there. Well, at least it leads to kind of a pivotal moment for Mickey Rourke's character. It's a bleak, but sadly, pretty true story of somebody at their heights who are still kind of struggling, both in fame and then in life later on after the glory has died down here. It revitalized the career of I was about to say R-Truth again, Mickey Rourke, and even Ernest the Cat is a different Ernest the Cat than we ever saw in WWE, WCW. His kind of talkings with Rourke are quite interesting. Necro Butcher, who suddenly becomes Dylan in the great kind of back and forth of them setting up the match and them doing that horrific match, where they're just kind of talking about it plainly, like two dudes discussing what to have for lunch. It's a really interesting scene. The whole movie as a whole is great, heartbreaking between Rourke and Rachel Wood. And so, yeah, The Wrestler definitely had to be brought up in this wrestling movies discussion.
Steve, what do you say about The Wrestler?
I have to say I agree with Jordan 100%. This is a very bleak story about wrestlers who are of age, who continue to toll and just keep, punishing their own bodies and so on and so forth. And yeah, like you mentioned, Ernest the Cat Miller has a role in the last act of the movie as the Ayatollah in the Ring of Honor ring. Dylan Summers, R-Truth, a whole bunch of people, and Mickey Rourke delivers a fantastic performance. As Marissa Tomei, Evan Rachel Wood, for sure, I agree that The Wrestler should be on this list.
Jacob, what do you say about The Wrestler?
Exactly what Steve and JPO said. This is another great movie. Whenever you're doing something that you love and that's going to affect your life, what do? You keep doing what you love. Mickey Rourke, great performance. Marissa Tomei has an amazing scene, and then a lot of other really good parts in this movie. I'm going to give it a yes also.
And Ryan, what do you say about The Wrestler?
It's another yes. But beyond the performances, this film also gives. I mean, it not only gives a very realistic approach and direction towards people towards men who dedicate themselves to wrestling, but also through Mickey Rourke's performances, you do see the physical toll it's taken on his body, especially the whole lingering thread to where if he wrestles again, will he literally like die in the ring? And then there's that ambiguous end shot to where you see like it leaves it open to the audience. Like, did he die, or was he just finish the match and just continue on living? And also, I mean, Mickey Rourke also gotten advice, and he had direction, and he's spoken to actual wrestlers in order to portray this very realistically. So this is a yes.
Yeah, The Wrestler would have easily been a yes for me as well. I love this movie. And yeah, there's not much more for me to say. Everyone else has pretty much said everything about it. Austin, what would you have said about The Wrestler?
Oh yeah, 100% yes. It's a great depiction of wrestler. Mickey Rourke's great. I even love the scenes where he's at the wrestling convention that is poorly attended. I've been to a few of those as well. It can be an unfortunate real thing as well. And hey, he ends up working at a deli at a grocery store, and I'm a referee who works at a grocery store. So there you go. I have something in common with Mickey Rourke.
But Steve, what is the first movie you're going to bring up?
Well, we already covered The Godfather and The Wrestler, so I think it's about time to take one of the big ones out. And I'm talking about They Live, baby. Roddy Piper as John freaking Nada, man. I mean, this movie is my number one movie for the best movie to feature a wrestler. It has Roddy Piper, he's a vagrant who just passes on by, just lives in a home for a little bit, and then he discovers this alien conspiracy that eventually he figure out he can see the identity of these aliens through these special glasses. And this movie has been spoofed many times, more especially in the South Park episode between Jimmy and Timmy. So it has one of the best fight scenes, and probably one of the longest fight scenes to ever be filmed in motion pictures. So I had to get it out of the way. I'm representing Roddy Piper. They Live.
Jacob, what do you say about They Live?
Steve, had you not have mentioned it, I would have mentioned it when it was my turn. This is a definite yes. This was the first movie that I mentioned in our 80s science fiction films. Very upset in that panel for not voting it through because it is a fantastic film. Should have been top 3 in that full ranking. Roddy Piper is fantastic in this film. And then that scene where he's fighting the other guy, trying to get the glasses on him. Great fight scene, too.
Ryan, what do you say about They Live?
I'm only here to do 2 things, and that's agree with wrestling movies and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of bubble gum. So this is a yes.
Yeah, this is one of those movies I wanted to try and catch before this. I just hadn't had time this week to do it, so I haven't seen it. Austin, what do you say about They Live?
Oh, 100% yes. It's a movie that literally stars a wrestler. One of the few ones we might talk about that where Roddy Piper is top billed star of the movie. His chemistry with Keith David is great throughout the film. The whole sequence where he is discovering the world with the glasses is one of the best filmed, 10, 15-minute sequences that John Carpenter's ever done. Fantastic direction, great score, like I said, great fight scenes, just great science fiction. It's an absolute yes for They Live. I love this movie.
Jordan, what do you say about They Live?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to obey and say absolutely yes, big old yes for me. I mean, Piper is the coolest person I met in my entire journey through wrestling. Super nice dude, but he's great in this as well. Besides even that, want to champion him, but it's a great, unique film. It's still a movie that's talked about. He was still talking about it in his final days about, who knows, maybe a sequel one day, or people still want to explore this concept more. Still making merch about it too. You walk into a freaking Walmart, find an action figure of it still to this day. I think that shows something. or the everlasting of this movie. So yeah, hell yeah.
There's also a bubblegum soda called All Out of Bubblegum with Roddy Piper's.
I've had Piper gum as well. Yeah, there was gum at one point too.
Jacob, what do you say about what is your next movie going to bring up?
All right. So as I look at JPO's beautiful face, I see 4 great pictures right underneath them. And we already talked about this one. Now let's talk about this one. The 1987 sci-fi classic, one of the best just ensemble films out there, Predator. Featuring, not starring, but featuring Jesse Ventura as Blaine, one of these big burly Marines who is tasked with going to, I believe it is Colombia, to save a senator. And next thing they know, they're being attacked by this crazy alien they cannot see. One of the best alien designs in a film. Probably one of the coolest scenes when they're setting up all the booby traps to set it up, and then his chemistry with Shane Black for the little bit that they are together, I really enjoy. I'm gonna have to go with Predator.
Brian, what do you say about Predator?
Oh man, I'm really back and forth on this one because I do love Jesse Ventura in this film. I love the small bits he has, but technically, to me, like, it brings back up to the recommendation of Godfather with Luca Brasi's character. I mean, sure, it's a wrestler playing that, but it's a character with an integral part. And to be honest, you can switch out Blaine. Actually, no, this is I'm being contradictory here, but I don't know. I think even if Jesse Ventura wasn't that character, the character of Blaine would have still been somebody who was supposed to be all macho. I don't know. I'm trying to give myself reasons to say no to this film because the long list of films we have here. But you know what? As much as I want to say yes, I will be the odd man out to say no, unfortunately.
You're not going to be the odd man out. I do enjoy Predator. I think it's a good movie, but it's kind like, for me personally, it's kind of outside like my top 12 and that I've sort of put on there. So I'm actually going to say no as well. Austin, what do you say about Predator?
Yes, the Predator. You guys are out of your goddamn minds because Jesse Ventura absolutely owns this role as Blaine. He owns the "I ain't got time to bleed." This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Look, anybody else you put in that role delivering those lines, it probably wouldn't hit like Jesse the Body Ventura does it because he has that wrestling background. He brings that wrestling energy. I completely disagree that Jesse Ventura does not deserve to be put on this list. And if he's going to be put on this list once, it's definitely going to be for Predator, not Running Man, which he's in that movie too, but doesn't make quite the impact that he does in Predator. You miss him when he gets killed in the movie, and that absolutely should be one of the reasons why he should be on this list, is that you terribly miss him. He makes the impact that you wanted to make with the Gatling gun, with all the one-liners. He's great. I'm going to give a big yes to Predator.
Jordan, what do you say about Predator?
I concur. It's a big yes for me, man. He has such charisma for the time on screen, and like you said, like you care when he's gone. You know what I mean? Like that's what's good about this film that you kind of lack later on in other sequels, where people start to get knocked off. You don't really care as much. This is the kind of film that makes you care when somebody like him is knocked off, which just makes the emotion that much better. It was such a fun pairing. Arnold kept bringing him back, even brought him back for a damn Batman movie years later after that. So yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna give it a yes. It's not necessarily, I think we discussed the starring role, but I think it's a really nice role. So yeah, why not?
Which means it's all on you, Steve. What do you say about Predator? You muted.
Blaine says he ain't got time to bleed. I ain't got time for no's. I'm agreeing with this. Jesse Ventura definitely deserves to be on this movie. Predator definitely deserves to be on a minute. Even if this movie, he, like Austin mentioned, he owns those lines. Him mentioning those lines, he's written by Shane Black, but it might as well have been written by Jesse Ventura if we didn't know it. Because Predator is definitely one of those movies that if it was made today, again, I think it should be made with an all wrestler. It should be made with an all wrestler cast. Hell, they should probably done it back in the day. But I think for sure, Predator definitely deserves to be on that list. So yes.
Ryan, we move over to you. What is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay. This movie has been brought up because of because of how iconic it is, and the fact that this wrestler cast in it gets to play. I mean, not only is he cast for his size, but you do get to see how much charm he brings to the role. And also, the back and forth he has with Mandy Patinkin just slays me a lot. I'm talking about The Princess Bride with Andre the Giant cast as Physique, the gentle giant. And also, I mean, he's not only just great in his performance, but also you see in the scenes, you see he brings a lot of heart. He brings a lot of he brings character, and it ends up paying off throughout the film. His one-on-one with Wesley's fantastic. Him being vital, he's literally vital to oh my god, Vicini, because he saves Buttercup from the shrieking eels. He's the one carrying all three of them climbing up that mountain. He disobeys Vicini to fight dirty and fight some sportsmanlike. That involves Wesley giving him respect instead of trying to kill him. He just chokes him out. Guess what? He comes back in, and look what happens. The drug pirate Roberts. There will be no survivors. And he gets the 4 horses towards the end as well. So
yeah, this is an easy yes for me. Like Princess Bride is a great movie. And yeah, and there's so few options for Andre that I really want Andre represented on this list as well. So it's a yes. Austin, what do you say about Princess Bride?
Yeah, the eighth wonder of the world deserves to be on this list. He did very few movies, very few appearances. His health at the time was not great, but the fact that he got to do this movie and be such a memorable role before he passed away, is in a movie that would become a classic, that would become beloved. And yeah, the fact that his size and his presence makes a difference in the film. His character is very significant. Yeah, it's going to be an easy yes. Princess Bride is definitely on my list. So for sure.
Jordan, what do you say about Princess Bride?
Yeah, you got it, man. If you think of wrestlers in movies, this is one that kind of pops up to your head right away, and for good reasoning. Fantastic movie, really fun part for Andre. Like so glad they casted him, because I think he does add to what makes this movie memorable. And again, another one too, it shows you the staying power of this movie and this character. We're about to get another action figure of this character pretty soon. People still want to, celebrate this movie and this character. So absolutely.
Steve, what do you say about Princess Bride?
I mean, we're not talking about wrestlers and movies if we don't mention Princess Bride. Princess Bride was my second movie on the list for that to be featured, and I don't think nobody could have portrayed that giant than actually Andre the Giant. I mean, no, I don't see anybody that could have replaced him in order to portray somebody who is truly larger than life. And you get someone who's the eighth wonder in the world to play that person who's larger than life. So for sure, Andre the Giant deserves to be on this list.
And Jacob, what do you say about Princess Bride?
Saying no to this film would be inconceivable. This definitely is an easy yes. You cannot have a list without this movie.
All right. But yeah, it's on me. I think my number 2 will probably come up eventually. I'm going to take a bit of a risk here. I'm going to bring up a relatively recent movie. I'm bringing up The Suicide Squad with John Cena playing Peacemaker. Look, John Cena's done a lot of movies, but there's a lot of people that saying that this is arguably one of his best roles that he's ever done. And even in this TV series that spins off of this movie, he does really well. I really like him as Peacemaker. And yeah, I think this is probably his best movie to date, and I'm taking the risk and just trying a recent movie out here. Austin, what do you say about the Suicide Squad?
Yeah, on my personal list, the John Cena movie I picked was The Suicide Squad, mainly because the television show has been so successful and we've seen that role expanded as such. If the TV show had not been as good, I probably would say no. But the fact that he owned the role in the movie and thus then owned the role on the show, and it has become probably, a lot of people agree, his best role he's ever done, playing more. I think he plays better comedically. He's still doing action, but I think doing comedic action works better than him doing something like the Marine. I just think it's he's more comfortable in the role. I think it's going to be the role he's going to start being known for acting wise. So yeah, on my personal list for John Cena's representation, I have the Suicide Squad as well. So I have to say yes.
And for reasons I want to see, for reasons that I'm not going to spoil here, I kind of want to see Peacemaker show up in other DC movies. But Jordan, what do you say about the Suicide Squad?
As Pez had said, if we had gone to my Cena pick, it would have been this as well. I really like Trainwreck and Blockers is fun, but I definitely would have wanted to champion the Suicide Squad. It's a great character. There's a reason why you can tell Taika Waititi. Damn it, I always say Taika Waititi. James Gunn. I was gonna, because there's two directors in the movie. James Gunn wanted to do more with the character, and so it does add a little bit to the fact that we've got a little bit more from the character, but even from the movie itself, it's bonkers. It's fun. He's great in it. So absolutely, big time, yeah.
Steve, what do you say about the Suicide Squad?
In the words of Wigwam, do you really want to taste John Cena to be on this list? Because he definitely deserves this list. Just the fact the matter is, honestly, I liked him in the Suicide Squad, even though I don't think he was the best thing in Suicide Squad. But after watching the television show, all 8 episodes, I mean, you see, literally having the theme song in my head, watching the opening without skipping the intro, because it's one of the greatest openings you ever see in a TV show ever. I don't care what anybody says. For sure, John Cena definitely deserves it, because I think he made that character more dimensional in the TV, in the television show, in this rather than the movie. And for that fact, I have to nominate him for the movie, because I think he elevated that the TV show elevated the movie more than I thought it would have before I even got eyes to watch the show. So yeah, John Cena.
And Jacob, what do you say about the Suicide Squad?
I have a problem with something a couple of people have said. This is best movies featuring wrestlers. TV show head should have nothing to do with this. That being said, the Suicide Squad was my personal pick for John Cena. This is the first time he's actually been able to do both action and comedy, especially him and Bloodsport. They're back and forth the entire time. I do everything you do, but better. The scene where they're killing everyone at the camp, and then it turns out to be the good guys' camp. I really love. I think that's hysterical. I really love him in this movie, taking away the TV show. It's great. He has a great performance. It makes a spin-off series, but without that series, I still think that it's his best film, and I'm all right with it being on the list.
And Ryan, what do you say about the Suicide Squad?
Now, I do agree, Jake. The TV shouldn't factor in this, but even then, it's still an added bonus, especially given Cena's performance from this film. The fact that Gunn loved working with him on set, the fact that he and the casting director picked John Cena for this role. It did seem to me that Gunn had some plans in for Peacemaker, or at least so many other characters for the show. I mean, whatever was going to happen, but I think because John Cena was just so good in this film, like what you just said, the back and forth between him and Bloodsport, the kill off between the two of them, and I'll even say even later on that scene with them all 4 of them in the little club, to where he I love how he gets everyone a drink and then he just goes, "Chica, forgot the rat." The seriousness he says in that tone of voice, like he's not going to kill somebody, but the fact is that this guy who's a sociopathic killer recognizes a rat as one of the team, and then also his messed up his robotic dancing, and then the switch that happens later on. And there that moment with him and Rick Flag, from the standoff to the fight to him killing Rick Flag. Spoilers for anyone who's not watched it. Shows a lot in this performance with Cena. That even though if we didn't get Peacemaker the TV show, this is still a yes, and this is still a solid yes. But I think because we got that TV show, and the fact that it's going to be renewed for a second season shows that Cena is growing, he is changing, and people want to see more of him.
Yeah, and I think anyway, because I think the TV show was written sort of partially during the making of this and during lockdown. But anyway, Austin, we move over to you. What is your next nomination?
Yeah, I'm going to go with kind of a personal pick and shoot my shot for it. It's a movie that I've discovered the last couple of years. It's a great hidden gem from the 90s. I'm going to go with Tim Burton's Ed Wood. And the reason I'm going to go with Ed Wood is Ed Wood himself, not even talking about the movie, casted a wrestler, Tor Johnson, in Plan 9 from Outer Space and Bride of the Monster, and he was casting, a wrestler long before it was even cool to do so back in the 50s. But with Ed Wood, just so happens that George the Animal Steel both looks and acts a lot like Tor Johnson, who's also a wrestler. So you've got a wrestler playing a wrestler playing a wrestler, and it's very meta, it's very fun, and the fact that he has a significant part in this movie. He does a great job imitating Tor Johnson, damn near looks just like him, and he's a fun presence as kind of the big oaf, the big kind of lunkhead, but he's a lot of fun, and his presence in the movie when they're filming Plan 9 is just so much fun, and Ed was just a great movie. It's one of Tim Burton's best, and I think it personally it's just kind of a personal pick. I'll see what happens here, but I'm going to go with Ed Wood featuring George the Animal Steel as Tor Johnson.
Jordan, what do you say about Ed Wood?
Actually, this is I have no problem giving this one a decent yes as well. It's a good movie. It's fun. Whenever George Steele, how else could he have possibly been in a big Tim Burton movie other than this kind of once in a lifetime role where he's so perfect for it. And it's a really interesting film as well. Don't worry. It's a fun flick. It's one I actually want to rewatch. It's been a minute, but definitely a yes.
Steve, what do you say about Ed Wood?
I have to definitely agree that not only is, with Austin, not only is it's one of Burton's best film, I think it's his masterpiece at this point. It's top notch. It tells us it has everything you ever wanted to know about Ed Wood. It told through the perspective of Burton, shot in black and white. Have Martin freaking Landau and George the Animal Steel. Come on, I mean, this is just who would ever thought in the '90s movie you would have Landau and George the Animal Steel, and I believe they shared one scene, but just the fact that they shared the scene together is just almost like the hell. For sure, I have to agree. Ed Wood definitely deserves it.
Jacob, what do you say about Ed Wood?
When I was little, I had a little Tim Burton kick, and I wanted to watch every single movie he did. And this is one I just did not get to, and then I became older and realized, or not realized he's still a good director, but just kind of didn't enjoy him as much. So this is one that I have not seen yet.
Ryan, what do you say about Ed Wood?
I would have to abstain as well because this is just one of the Tim Burton films I have yet to watch. I mean, I'm trying to go back to his library and watch everything else. I mean, the only earliest I'm about 85% through his filmography. This is just one I haven't gotten to yet.
Great movie though. You can check it. Make it a priority. Just on a side note, it's a great.
I've heard
movie.
A lot of good stuff about Ed Wood. I really have.
Yeah.
The performance of Johnny Depp, Martin Landau, and everything involved.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, Ed Wood's making the list. I love this movie. I think it's good. And it's one of those ones that I like the fact that, especially for me, Disney Plus has like mature content and all that. Ed Wood is one of those movies on there. And I actually watched it for the first time either early in the year or last year. I can't quite remember. It was on that cast video, but yeah, Ed Wood makes the list, and we move over to Jordan.
Alrighty. So since nobody has mentioned the guy we were afraid would be mentioned too much, let's go for a rock movie. I'm gonna go pretty early too. I'm gonna go for one of his. I think his kind of his breakout, The Rundown. I still think holds up. Super fun action flick, decent comedy, decent side characters. Um, I thought it was one of the great ones because Scorpion King is kind of fine. This one I think really showed multiple levels of what The Rock can do. Great little passing of the torch moment at the beginning in the club with Arnold Schwarzenegger giving a little wink and a nod about like how I think The Rock's about to take over, and he kind of did for years to come, and still is. Maybe our future president. So I'm gonna nominate The Rundown.
Steve, what do you say about The Rundown?
I'm gonna have to say no on that. Yes, it's just that I have like I think there's other better movies out there with The Rock in it, and I think it probably will be mentioned maybe next. So we'll see. But yeah, I think the Rundown's fine. I just don't think it belongs on like great movies that featured wrestlers, and I think there's other better movies featuring The Rock that should be included on the list. So I'm sorry, JP, I'm gonna have to say no.
Jacob, what do you say about The Rundown?
If we were doing a show on the top 12 Dwayne The Rock Johnson performances, I could see this being kind of towards the end of the list. It still is a good movie, I will say, but it is not top 12 of all wrestlers.
Ryan, what do you say about The Rundown?
I'm actually this is enough I'm conflicted on because I agree. Yes, Dwayne needs to be on this list, and I love The Rundown. It's one of my underrated films that it's been looked over, especially with this especially with his career. And yeah, that moment with him and Arnold Schwarzenegger in that club scene, it's there for a reason. It wasn't just some fun cameo, because even a lot of critics even say back then when they talk about The Rundown, it's like a passing of the torch. I mean, looking from The Rundown and on, he does transition a lot from action, and then he goes into family, then he goes back into action. But this is his first lead role, and I will say lead because Scorpion King, that was just a beta test. This is him literally carrying it on his own, working with Chris Walken, Rosario Dawson, and Sean William Scott. At the time when Sean William Scott, for some reason, was losing popularity. You know what? I will go with Jordan on this one. I will say yes.
I think if you look back, when we did top 12 Dwayne Johnson movies a while back on Rankin, I'm pretty sure this one did actually make the list. But unfortunately, there are better movies featuring The Rock, and The Rundown, or as it was known for me, Welcome to the Jungle, is not one of them. So yeah, it's a no for me. Yeah, it was called Welcome to the Jungle in New Zealand. Austin, what do you say about The Rundown?
Yeah, I like The Rundown. I mean, the man does a rock bottom in the movie, which is cool, but I think it was a little bit pandering at the time. I think he's done better movies since then, and I think there's a movie I've got in mind for The Rock on my personal list. I won't spoil it here yet, but I think that really solidified him as on SNL. He called it Franchise Viagra. That I think should be his movie that's represented. That's what I'm going to lean to if it gets back around to me. So I'm going to say a slight no to The Rundown, but I do like The Rundown.
Anyway, Steve, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
The next movie I'm going to bring up features a very iconic character that not a lot of people know was played by a wrestler, and I'm going to go with Harold Sakata as Oddjob in Goldfinger. This is the best Bond movie of all time, no matter what anybody says. Not Casino Royale, not From Russia with Love, not No Time to no. Goldfinger is the best Bond movie of all time. You have you have the Aston Martin, you have the iconic, you even the Golden Girls, the ejection seat, the laser, Pussy Galore. I mean, the anonymous names and everything, and the fact that you have a wrestler playing this imposing figure whose main weapon is a bowler hat that he can decapitate people with. And for people who don't know who Harold Sakata is, I didn't know a lot about him till after I watched Goldfinger. Like, oh shit, he's a wrestler. So he actually was known as Tosh Togo in the States. He wrestled for National Wrestling Alliance with Great Togo, and he also held the All Asian Tag Team Championship with one of the most famous wrestlers, one of the wrestlers that started wrestling in Ricky Dozan. I have to mention Goldfinger because it's an iconic character. I don't think you could think about Goldfinger without thinking about Oddjob, besides James Bond and maybe Goldfinger himself. But I think the second most popular character in that movie is Oddjob. So yeah, Goldfinger.
Who throws a shoe, really? But anyway, Jacob, what do you say about Goldfinger?
Oddjob, just as a character, is a great character. Me personally, I know him a lot more from the GoldenEye video game, where you were not allowed to use Oddjob, strangely enough, because he was that one-hit kill. That being said, though, most James Bond is a blind spot in my filmography, and Goldfinger is included in that list of ones I have not seen. But you saying it's good, I'm imagining it's better than Octopussy, which I find no way, because that movie is pure genius. So I cannot vote on this one. I'm sorry.
Ryan, what do you say about Goldfinger?
This is a yes, because Oddjob, as Steve had just said, iconic character. Also, to jump off from Jacob as well. Oddjob was he was the most famous and infamous character in that video game. And even then, you watch that film, Oddjob, he is not just the dumb like henchman or the goofy henchman. He's there with actual menace. He is there to be an obstacle. That the moment you see him every now and you see him show off his strength, you see him show off his deadly accuracy with that hat as he kills Jill Masterson's sister with it. You also see him in Fort Knox in that battle against Bond, as Bond tries to use almost everything at his disposal, and it barely hurts Oddjob. He throws a gold brick at him, and it just bounces off of him like when Kate Bishop shot that arrow at Kingpin, and he just flicks it off his chest. That's exactly what that's supposed to do. And Bond had to, and then the hat itself being as dangerous to it actually got Oddjob afraid. And then once he grabbed it, Bond electrocutes him. I mean, what badass way to kill off someone who's more dangerous than the actual villain. So this is a yes.
There's about 8 or 9 James Bond movies I know for sure that I've seen. Unfortunately, Goldfinger is one that I'm not too sure if I've seen or not. I am doing a Bond rewatch and going through them in chronological order.
I think some of them were available.
Release date order is what I meant to say, but so I haven't quite got Goldfinger yet. Austin, what do you say about Goldfinger?
Yeah, this one was one that was on my list as well, Mesa, and yeah, I would say definitely yes. And it's one of those things where you look into Oddjob and you go, oh yeah, he was a All Japan wrestler and wrestled for a very long time. And again, the fact that he was, it's cool when these wrestlers get cast into movies that were so early, 1963, and he ends up being, like Steve said, one of literally he might be the most iconic, James Bond henchman that's ever been, because Austin Powers literally rips on Oddjob, because he's the most iconic one, he's the best one, and it's what it is. And Goldfinger's top 5 Bond movies. So yeah, I'm gonna actually give a yes as well. I love Goldfinger, and Oddjob's awesome, so I'll say yes.
Which means, Jordan, it comes down to you. Does Goldfinger make this list?
I'm gonna give it a no, because I'm gonna go the logic of I don't think he's the thing that makes it iconic. I think you could cast anybody that's imposing, and it would be the same kind of role. What's iconic is the things he does, not necessarily that performance. It's a stoned performance from an imposing looking dude. That could have been played by anybody. So yeah, I'm gonna say no to that.
But
thank you. I'm not justified for going against Predator.
No, just despite Steve, because fuck Steve Mason.
Thanks for justifying me saying no to Predator. Thank you.
But unfortunately, Goldfinger doesn't make this list. Jacob, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right. So one of the popular video game tropes that has been out recently is Battle Royale. If you look at PUBG, Fortnite, then a bunch of PUBG clones. But before that, we had the Hunger Games. I don't know of any wrestlers in the Hunger Games, but before that, we had the 2007 action thriller, The Condemned, featuring Stone Cold Steve Austin. I just pissed off Pez. Pez, I'm sorry. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. But a ton of convicts get thrown on an island and just kill each other. It's all televised. The winner not only gets to live, but gets to go home free. Stone Cold Steve Austin is the main character. You also have Vinnie Jones. And just seeing both of them just destroy people is fantastic. And also, one of the only times you have a battle royale where a player dies while falling onto the island. I don't know why that's not done more often.
Ryan, what do you say about The Condemned?
As much as I love Stone Cold Steve Austin,
yeah. I don't know why you would pick that for Steve Austin. Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Steve Austin's movie is better.
I know which one is better.
As I'm saying, as much as I love Stone Cold Steve Austin, as much as I hated Jordan's argument for not picking Goldfinger, it matches this one for The Condemned, unfortunately. This is not Austin's strongest performance. This is pretty much, and every time you do see him on screen, he's only got maybe only one or two couple of lines. He's mainly just reacting off of everyone else in this film. Vinnie Jones is mostly the biggest standout in this one. And the one time he does have to be emotional is when he's on a phone call talking to a woman why he left her. Not enough. Not good enough, unfortunately. I'm gonna have to say no on this one.
Yeah, I remember Santino Marella promoting The Condemned on WWE TV.
Yeah.
But I've not seen this movie. Santino Marella didn't convince me to see this, so but I'm probably going to watch this now just because I'm now curious about it. But Austin, what do you say about The Condemned?
No, it's a generic WWE Films movie that you could have substituted Steve Austin for Randy Orton or John Cena or Bill Goldberg or any number of wrestlers in this movie, and it would have been the exact same damn movie. And here's the thing. We're talking about top 12 movies. I'm trying to nominate good movies for this one, for our list that do feature wrestlers. I'm not putting The Condemned alongside The Godfather and The Wrestler and The Princess Bride and Ed Wood. No. This is a hard no for me, like an extra no for me. A hell no. If you think that The Condemned should be knocked off this list immediately, give me a hell yeah.
No one. It should be on the list.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's only because Mesa was muted.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Jordan, what do you say about The Condemned?
Don't worry, Papa, because I'm going to give it a softer no than that. But still a no. I like it. I don't agree necessarily that it could be anyone, Pez. I think you do need a kind of badass, so I don't think you could put in Randy Orton or anything. But at the same time, we're looking for kind of a top 12. It's not in the top 30, 40 probably. So, I got to give it a no as well.
And Steve, what did you have said about The Condemned?
I'm not just giving it a no. I'm giving it hell no.
Hell no.
What? No. Sorry. Honestly, I wouldn't even put Austin on this list, to be honest with you. I have other more performances, more movies that are actually better than Austin's total combined filmography, in my opinion. I love him as a wrestler, as an actor. Hell no.
But with that, Ryan, we move over to you for your next nomination.
All right, my next nomination, I'm diving back into wrestlers in a film, and this film has a plethora of wrestlers, and this came out in 2000s, whether people want to think it's dated or not. I still love it just for the popcorn enjoyment of it. And also, I mean, as much as you fucking hate David Arquette winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, he did redeem himself with this documentary. So as much as you guys don't like this guy, and I'm talking not just on this panel, but at home, I personally enjoy Ready to Rumble because of the plethora of not just cameos, but you do get to. It does a good job at poking fun, but then also giving you a good sight of the wrestling business of two fans looking for the wrestlers, their side characters, but even then, you have a fictional character of Oliver Platt, and then you have two wrestling fans who just want to, be a part of the whole business. So guess what? You get to see interaction. Diamond Dallas Page, Goldberg, you see Disco Inferno, you see Sting, you see Macho Man Randy Savage in that nice dream sequence. I like the cameos that pop in there because they're there to serve a purpose, and it's a whole lot of wrestlers, and the whole film is surrounding about wrestling in itself. So that's my nomination, Ready to Rumble.
I can. I remember there was 1 year in Full Metal, someone put Ready to Rumble on the deep cuts list, and everyone really loved it on the deep cuts list. I'm pretty sure. No one liked it on the deep cuts list.
Well, like I said, I don't care. It's a personal enjoyment.
But I've put it on my deep cuts in trivia a couple times.
But that being said, I've not seen it. Apparently, the porn bots are coming out in
yes, that means you're doing something good.
Jesus.
But Austin, what do you say about Ready to Rumble?
No. Again, my same argument. I'm not putting Ready to Rumble up next to The Godfather and The Wrestler and They Live and Predator. Like, I'm just not doing that. I enjoy. But we're arguing top 12 movies that feature wrestlers. Ready to Rumble is look, it's a punchline at this point. Look, I like Ready to Rumble as a guilty pleasure, but it's a goddamn punchline at this point. It's like, what is this movie? Ready to Rumble? I enjoy it for what it is. The fact that it is a wrestling centric movie. But for this list, no. And I would argue you could have nominated another David Arquette movie, and I would have been with you had you nominated a better David Arquette movie, and I would have said yes to it, but it's not Ready to Rumble, so no.
Jordan, what do you say about Ready to Rumble?
Part of me wants to give it the go, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't paint us in the greatest of lights, even though it's probably made for us wrestling fans. So I gotta give it a no. It has its moments, but it's not in that 12 for me. I kind of want other films to be mentioned.
But Steve, what do you say about Ready to Rumble?
It's obviously not going to be on the list.
Sorry, Ryan. I'm gonna have to say no as well. It's like Jordan said, it doesn't really paint fans, workers, everybody in the greatest of light. I mean, yeah, it has Martin Landau. We're speaking of Martin Landau again. He's in this movie, but
Sal Bandini want to wrestle.
But yeah, man, it's it's a fun movie, but like Austin said, it's not deserving to be along the lines of movies like Godfather, Wrestler, They Live, and Predator. And if we're doing that, I don't think Ready to Rumble should be on that list. So I'm gonna have to say no.
Oh my
god. Jacob, what do you say about Ready to Rumble?
So Ryan, how does it feel kind of being shamed because everybody hates your pick? Doesn't feel good, does it?
No, I knew my pick was going to be hated, but the arguments it doesn't deserve to be on this list. Well, you guys MJF all of a sudden just want to shit on everything?
Hey, I wasn't shitting on anything. I was just making you feel pain.
No, I'm just shitting on Ready to Rumble. I didn't shit on everything. I've said yes to a lot of movies.
In the condemned. But regardless, I'm pretty sure it was Harley who put Ready to Rumble on the Full Metal Deep Cut list. I could be very mistaken on that. That being said, this is not just a no. It's a hell no.
Well, then get ready, guys, for Ready to Rumble on Deep Cuts whenever you come across me in matches, guys.
I'm already doing that, so it's all good.
Only if you're ready for Twilight to pop up against you, Brian. But anyway,
Oh God, I'm not playing either.
but anyway, the next movie I'm going to bring up features Kurt Angle. I'm going to bring up Warrior with Nick Nolte and Joe Edgerton. This is such a great movie about an MMA boxer. Kurt Angle plays a Russian athlete called Cobra who he battles late in the movie. And Warrior is just a really good movie. Like Gavin O'Connor is really good when it comes to making sports movies feel realistic. And Warrior is just one of those movies that's just fun to watch and just great. Yeah, Austin, what do you say about Warrior?
Yeah, Warrior was actually going to be my next pick, Malcolm. So that lets me pick something else. Warrior is excellent. It's easily the best MMA movie that's ever been made. And it features a wrestler. Kurt Angle is very intimidating, a very great presence as Koba. They prop him up as like this unbeatable monster, kind of a final boss sort of situation, and it puts it in a great light. Tom Hardy's amazing in this movie. Joel Edgerton's amazing in this movie. Nick Nolte's great in this movie. It's a movie that got Oscar nominations. And to do that for a sports movie, much less an MMA movie, is great. And Warrior holds up. It's really good. So I'm going to give it a big yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Warrior?
Yeah, my only hesitation is, again, not a knock on Angle. He's not really what makes this movie great. Again, it's a very, like, as long as you have an intimidating dude that's in shape, like, that's the role. But the movie is great. So, yeah, if we're going by the criteria of just simply, hey, Angle's in it, he's got a character name, and it's a great movie, then yeah, I'll give it a yes for sure. It's a great movie.
Steve, what do you say about Warrior?
I agree with you, Malcolm. I agree with Austin. I agree with JPO, despite him turning down Goldfinger. But for sure, Warrior is it's probably one of the most underrated movies of 2011. You have all these movies come out, Descendants, all these artists, Argo, all these movies coming out the same year. Warrior, I mean, it sort of flew under the radar, but like I think it should be recognized now for the fact that it has a great acting showcase with Hardy, Edgerton, Nolte, and the way that they shoot the MMA sequences are the way I want MMA sequences to be shot from now on. I want them to be shot like Warrior, and anything that's not shot like Warrior in MMA it's a shame to MMA action cinematography. So with that being said, I give the Warrior the Mesa Media approval.
Jacob, what do you say about Warrior?
This is one that has been on my list for a while, needing to watch. I'm not a big MMA fan, so every time I'm about to watch it, I'm like, not a huge fan of MMA. So maybe you won't enjoy it, and maybe it'll not live up to the hype that everyone holds it to. And so I always kind of talk myself out of it. But I need to watch it. I just have not yet.
Ryan, what do you say about Warrior?
Well, this was definitely on my list as well to recommend because Kurt Angle, if we all know of his history, he's an Olympic. He has a lot of experience in amateur wrestling, Olympic gold medalist, and also around the time he was doing MMA, to help keep himself, fit and up, and still agile. And so at the same time, his role is perfect because he doesn't have to worry about doing a lot of acting. His character is mainly there as an obstacle, as a part of the story for the underdog who we're supposed to root for. And at the same time, the fact that he does know MMA makes the action in that scene much more believable in the story. So when the character does get that upsetting victory, you are surprised that somebody like Joel Edgerton was able to beat Kurt Angle. So this is a yes.
But with that, Warrior does come out to play on the list, and we move over to Austin.
I guess I'll just do one that I think should be fairly obvious and should be somewhat of a shoo-in. Dave Bautista had done a lot of movies. He'd done Riddick. He'd done Man with the Iron Fist. He was kind of working his way around. But it was Guardians of the Galaxy that I think made him a household name as Drax the Destroyer. They catered to Batista's strength, making him a big dude, but kind of playing it, this very deadpan style, to where a lot of the stuff was funny, where he was taking it very seriously, which is what makes it funny. But yeah, he's absolutely excelled in the role, as we've seen throughout the sequels and the Avengers movies and all that. But yeah, I think the one that definitely put him on the map as a big name in the movie business, kind of right up there with John Cena and Dwayne Johnson. For Dave Bautista, I think it has to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Jordan, what do you say about Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, I was debating about making this my next vote. So yeah, big old yes for me. I thought about this or Blade Runner, but as far as like a really bigger, juicier role, Guardians I think makes the most sense. He's great as Drax. I can't wait for the third one to see even more of this character. Probably the last time we're gonna get Bautista as Drax, sadly too. But I'm glad we got him as much as we did. It's a really fun flicks. It's a fun character, and he's kind of perfect for it. So big ol' yes.
Steve, what do you say about Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, for sure. This was actually gonna, if Jordan was I'm gonna mention it. I was gonna mention it. Yeah, Drax is the role that I think made Bautista a bona fide movie star. He put himself on the map with that, and we're talking about James Gunn again. Another James Gunn film on this list, and rightfully so. Guardians of the Galaxy is what made it, the names of Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket Raccoon, much more in the pop culture vernacular than it was before it was adapted to the silver screen. So for sure, definitely deserves to be on this list.
Jacob, what do you say about Guardians of the Galaxy?
So I do not like what the MCU has done with Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and on. Volume 1, this was the movie that I had for Bautista on my list. He does give a breakout performance. This is his breakout performance. So I have to say yes. And then he's a joke in the rest of the films. We're not going to talk about those, but Guardians of the Galaxy definitely deserves to be on here.
Ryan, what do you say about Guardians of the Galaxy?
I'm not a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, so I'm just going to say no. Of course, I'm going to go with the first volume. Come on. I mean, especially some of the stories I've learned after, especially when the movie was released, how there's this one story that was going around to where a man took his baby brother with him to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, and his brother was autistic. And in this little thread, his brother who was autistic actually loved loved Drax because he related to Drax. He said, believe in that thread, or at least that story I read, the kid yelled out, "He's just like me," showing that even though he's a completely serious character, I like the fact that there was someone who was on the spectrum was able to relate to this character. And also, Drax as a character, you do see him being serious. And despite everyone in the Guardians having their own senses of trauma, Drax is the one who honestly wears it on his sleeve because of how serious he is. Sure, Quill has his mommy issues, but even then, Drax is he's the one with the tragic backstory next to Gamora, but he's the one who is so damn driven by it. So by the time you do see him in later subsequent films, you do see more personality out of his character, despite people thinking, "Oh, he's a joke." No, he's not a joke. He's becoming a more fully fledged person, which is why I love his relationship with Mantis. I love his performance in Infinity War, and hopefully with this third one coming out, I kind of do want to see Drax come full circle. So, of course, it's a yes.
Yeah, I love Guardians of the Galaxy basically for everyone else to see it at this stage. And yeah, I mean, and I think we can all agree that James Gunn is really good at taking wrestlers and turning them into somewhat decent actors. Considering he also did the same thing with the Suicide Squad. So Guardians of the Galaxy does make this list. And Jordan, we move to you.
Alrighty, so either you guys are all going to follow me on this or fight me. We'll see where this goes. But I wanted to nominate Kevin Nash for John Wick. He plays Francis, the doorman. It's a great scene where I was like, oh no, they're going to murder Kevin Nash. But then Keanu Reeves goes, hey, now'll be a good time to take a break. And Kevin Nash lives, and John Wick is fucking awesome. So John Wick.
Steve, what do you say about John Wick?
I'm gonna say no to John Wick. To the fact, just listen. To the fact that I was not a big fan of the first John Wick. I wasn't. I thought it was. I thought it was an okay movie that just basically took, the formula of revenge and just put it onto a dog. But to give credit where credit is due, the movies got better as 2 and 3 progress. In my respectful opinion, but I think there's a better movie with Kevin Nash in it that I could probably mention in my next turn if we get to it. But I'm gonna say no.
Jacob, what do you say about John Wick?
JP, I was a little concerned when you first started talking. You put Kevin Nash. I'm like, he's about to bring up a Magic Mike movie, isn't he? Thank you for not doing that. Thank you so much. That being said, John Wick is an amazing film, and we just got demonetized. Way to go, JPO. John Wick is a fantastic film. However, we've kind of talked a little bit about it. With some of the actors you can take them out and put somebody else in, and it doesn't change anything with the movie. You can change anybody out with Kevin Nash in this film.
And good, they didn't kill Kevin Nash. I love Kevin Nash.
It would not change. John Wick, well, yes, it is a fantastic film. I cannot put it on the list. I'm sorry.
You're wrong, Pablo. You're wrong.
What do you say about John Wick?
Well, I love the John Wick franchise in their entirety. I think everyone really overblows the first one because they think he's insane. Where if you just rewatch it, he is only after one kid. It's everyone else's reaction to him going after this one kid that makes it insane. And as much as I do like that scene with him sparing Francis, I do agree with Papa West. You can replace anyone else in that scene. It'll still be the same. If I want Kevin Nash to do somebody as a Russian, I'd rather nominate his performance in The Punisher than over this in John Wick. So I will say no to this one as well.
I really love John Wick. I think it's great. I was actually going to say yes because I'm afraid Steve is going to bring up Magic Mike. But Austin, what would you have said about John Wick?
If we were talking about just great action movies, I'd say yes to John Wick. The theme of the thing is movies feature a wrestler, but this is a blink and you miss it role for the wrestler because literally you could, if you're off pissing for 30 seconds, you miss Kevin Nash in this movie. He makes zero impact. He has zero impact on the story as opposed to everybody else we put on this list so far. It's not a significant. You could have put any generic big, tall, giant guy in there, and it would have been the exact same scene. We wouldn't. Only wrestling fans are going to go, "Oh, hey, that's Kevin Nash." Now, had you nominated The Punisher, Jordan, I would have rolled with you because he makes a significant impact in the movie as the Russian, and he stands out. I would have actually rolled with you, but I think you chose the wrong movie, sadly. So I'm going to say no, even though I love John Wick.
Steve, what movie are you going to bring up next?
I mean, Ryan mentioned it. I have to mention it. Kevin Nash in Magic. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. No. I'm putting in a rock movie, but it's not going to be a rock movie that anybody's expecting. I'm going to nominate Pain and Gain. Dwayne Johnson as Paul Doyle. I really like this. I personally like this movie because one, it was, and this is I'm not expecting to make it the list. I know it. I have a feeling it's going to happen like that. But this is something I had to take a shot in the dark with. This. I really enjoy this movie. I think this is Michael Bay's best movie. He takes a Miami story, which is insane. The fact that these two bodybuilders go get involved in this kidnapping scheme and basically just mutilate this poor guy while they basically kill two bystanders and just leave their body parts in a secluded hotel room. It's insane. And the fact that you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson playing a born again Christian who basically turns to coke and basically just loses his finger in a botched robbery, and that I would not have expected The Rock to play that type of character. And I think this is his best performance in out of his whole filmography. I'm gonna just put it out there that Pain and Gain should be on this list.
Jacob, what do you say about Pain and Gain?
I actually love Pain and Gain. It's my favorite Michael Bay film, and especially with The Rock as a born again Christian, just watching him constantly fight himself with everything that's going on. And then Tony Shalhoub's performance, just seeing him as a despicable person. Especially, I grew up watching Monk a lot. Just seeing him change from that was really interesting. But this movie is nowhere near like best Rock performance, let alone best movies with wrestlers. While I love it, I cannot.
Ryan, what do you say about Pain and Gain?
Saying too, because I remember seeing this film in theaters mainly because The Rock was in it. Although I'll admit there is at least one Rock movie I want to nominate, and unfortunately Pain and Gain is not it. As much as I like his performance in this, he's doing his best to play the straight man next to Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Mackie just being like the 100% criminals. I like the complexity he shows in there. But at the same time, this is fucking Michael Bay, and this is the one Michael Bay film I thought would have turned the tide, but he goes back to making really fucking ridiculous films. So, I'm sorry, personal bias aside, Rock, I love The Rock in this. I just think there's another Rock movie I want to nominate on this list, so I'm going to say no.
Pain and Gain's a good movie, but there are better movies with The Rock. It's a no for me. Austin, what do you say about Pain and Gain?
I'll just keep it fairly short. He's the best part of that movie, but I'm going to give it a slight no. I like the pick, Mesa. I like thinking outside the box of Pain and Gain. I do respect that, and I do think it's one of the better Michael Bay movies. But I'm going to give it a slight no.
Jordan, what would you have said?
An even bigger no for me. The Rock's good in it. Everyone's performance is pretty good here. It's a messy ass film. Michael Bay does not know how to handle drama with comedy. I mean, the shit that Steve just said, he handles it like it's a sitcom. It's all over the place. It's a messy film. Rock's good in it. If you want to talk best performances and not include the movie, maybe, but there's way better movies I think we want to mention for The Rock. So, no.
I have a feeling this show's going to come down to us debating which Rock movie should be on this list, and it's going to go 3 hours.
And then no Rock movie is going to make the list. I think no Rock movie is going to end up making it.
That's why I haven't touched The Rock yet on any of my nominations. I've just gone for other shit that's gotten in. So, yeah.
Jacob, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
So I got a lot of crap for my last pick, and a lot of people are like, "This is the Stone Cold Steve Austin movie that you picked." Yes, it was, because this next one I'm going to pick, Stone Cold's in it. He's not like the main wrestler in this film, but he's in it along with Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Great Khali, and someone else who I cannot think of, but sure someone's going to tell me the fifth one who's in there. That is going to be Adam Sandler, The Longest Yard. Convicts in a prison decide to play football against the guards. Goldberg is battle. He's the linebacker. This is the best performance he's had in a movie and in a wrestling match since this. Nothing he's done recently has lived up to this hype. Pretty much everything he's done recently has been trash compared to this. But I'm gonna go with The Longest Yard.
Ryan, what do you say about The Longest Yard?
I'm still deciding here. Funny thing was, if I was looking for a better Austin and Nash performance, I would nominate this film because both of them happen to have some comeuppance. They get some comeuppance moments throughout this movie, with Nash being the testosterone steroid guard who gets the hormones to make him more feminine. But then Austin, of course, that scene with Nellie in the library, and then seeing the comeuppance he gets later on, to where he's like, "Just shit himself? I think he just shit himself." I don't know. I mean, I guess for the views, I'll say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I like The Longest Yard, but in saying that, there's also a better movie with Adam Sandler, which also has wrestlers in it, or a wrestler in it. But I will give it a slight no. Austin, what do you say about The Longest Yard?
You know what? I'm going to give it a slight yes, because I think some of these guys, you're hitting a lot of wrestlers in this movie who it's probably going to be the best performance they've ever given, as far as Kevin Nash being leaning more into the comedic stuff, Steve Austin leaning into what he does best, just being kind of a brooding, intimidating presence as the guard, Goldberg being a little more comedic, with the joke about his giant dick in the movie, and him kind of playing with that joke, even the Great Khali, them kind of playing into him, just being this big dude who just kind of yells out random stuff. In fact, he has to have subtitles in the movie. Makes me laugh. But I think because it's the best performance I think you're going to get out of any of those guys, and Adam Sandler did it in this movie, I'm going to say yes.
I mean, I don't know if you'll go with me on this, but Goldberg's acting is better than his wrestling of late. So, Jordan, what do you
put
say?
in a tight 6 minutes today in Saudi. So how dare you?
I haven't seen it yet.
That was 6 minute match. It was whatever, as everyone knew.
Oh boy.
I'll go with Pez. I'll give it a slight yes. I like the fact that there's several wrestlers in it. They're balancing a lot of characters in this movie when you think about it, because there's literally like 5 wrestlers in it, and then like 40 more characters. But the fact that everyone's kind of got a little something to do, everyone's mentioned they've all got like a good scene here. Nash is pretty funny with the little role that he's given with the hormones, and so yeah, I'll give it a slight yes.
And Steve, what would you have said about The Longest Yard? You're muted.
I also say yes. I'm Steve Mason.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you, Jordan. The fact that it has not only Goldberg, Kevin Nash, Great Khali, the fact that it has IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Bob Sapp in it. My New Japan heart just flutters up a mist here, and I'm definitely recommending The Longest Yard.
Should have known New Japan Steve Mason would have mentioned the Bob Sapp.
But Ryan, we go to you for your next nomination.
I mean, before this list is complete, we do need to get a Rock movie in here, and there's a lot of Rock films, but honestly, from a wrestling fan I know out there, I think it's time for us to get family involved. And I'm talking about the one that literally introduces him, that gives him the title of franchise Viagra for the short-term period, and that is Fast Five. For the Rock.
There you go. Fucking
The Rock
there you go.
Debuts, because at that time, before Fast Five, The Rock, even though he was still doing lots of films, he still retained a certain physical shape that he had. He did slowly get more muscles later on, but I saw Fast Five after I saw him in Journey to the Mysterious Island. That transition of him to seeing him as Luke Hobbs, seriously, you see him walk out of that plane, stone cold killer. And I still love his interaction with that corrupt police chief, where he gets the Elena in Venice. He's like, "Why do you want her? I like her smile." And he's like, "Just stay the fuck out of my way." This man came to play, and despite people's whole thing like Vin Diesel never has enemies, he just gets friends later on. I still love his whole thing with I still love his performance in here. And while he is more comical in Hobbs and Shaw, he's still the same guy. So Fast Five is my nomination.
Fast Five is on the table. Austin, what do you say?
Yeah, Ryan, this is the one I was hoping would come up. Like, this is the one I was going to bring up if we were going to bring up a Rock movie. And my argument was going to be it's the role he's still playing to this day. It's the one he's made the most impact on the movies as is Hobbs. And he came on, he had been kind of fluttering around the movies, but I'm the same way as you. When I saw that trailer for Fast Five and you see him in that trailer, I looked at the other wrestlers. We were all talking, going, holy shit, what happened to The Rock? That dude's been hitting the damn gym, and he looks like insane. He looks like a monster, and he's maintained that look throughout this whole thing. But it's the role I think he's had the most fun with. I think it's the role he's just really embraced, and even in Fast Five, his fight with Vin Diesel is a lot of fun. His interaction back and forth with them and the rest of the group kind of being, not the villain of the film, but kind of the antagonist, to the group.
Yeah.
I think brings an interesting dynamic, and how he turned from going antagonist to protagonist. But it started with Fast Five, and that's was going to be my argument why I would have brought up Fast Five had you not. So yes, I'm going to give a big yes. I think this should be Dwayne Johnson's representation on this list. Fast Five, yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Fast Five?
I'm waiting for somebody to mention G.I. Joe Retaliation, so I'm going to say no. Yeah, Fast Five's the easy choice, but it's for the right reason, man. He did really kind of revitalize. I like the fourth one, third one's whatever, fourth one's fun, and the fifth one is where it really kind of garnered more people to really jump on board because of The Rock. And yeah, it's a really great action flick. He's flipping awesome in it, man. So why not? I say this is good. Yes, this makes sense to be on the list for The Rock.
Steve, what do you say about Fast Five?
Fast Five is not only still the best Fast and Furious movie, and it probably will continue that trend. It is also one of the best action movies of the 2010s. This was a movie that literally just sent this movie to franchisehood, because I don't think we would have the success of this movie without the appearance of The Rock, in my opinion. I think he sent this movie to the stratosphere, and now we're looking at a 10th Fast and the Furious movie, possibly maybe 15 at this point. God knows where this franchise is going to end, and if it wouldn't have been possible without The Rock. So yes, Dwayne Johnson, Fast Five, let's go.
I don't know. F9 was the movie that sent the Fast and the Furious franchise into the stratosphere. But Jacob, what do you say about Fast Five?
So this is not my pick for The Rock. I think he has a couple better ones, but I am totally fine with this one being on here. You can love or hate the Fast and Furious franchise, whatever you want to do, but this is definitely the best of the franchise itself. And then this is his best performance in that franchise also. So I agree it should be on here.
So Fast Five is making this list. I would have said no. I mean, if Fast and the Furious movie was going to make this list, there's a better one that I would have brought up myself. But that being said, I think there's also another better movie with The Rock in it I would have brought up. But unfortunately, The Rock is now off the table and on the list finally.
Maybe.
But yeah, well, yeah, but we've already got John Cena, so F9's not going to make the list either. So, but Fast Five is going to make this list, and yeah, it's on me to nominate next. And I realized I didn't actually start off that round, but anyway, the movie I'm going to actually bring up. I'm going to bring up someone different. I'm going to bring up a movie featuring the wrestler known as Daryl Carolat, or you might know him better as Tyler Mane, and I'm bringing up the first X-Men movie. He played Sabertooth. And look, The first X-Men movie is really good, and I think Tyler Mane is really great playing Sabertooth, especially like the fight scene against Wolverine. I know we've got a few superhero movies on this list already, but what's another one? Austin, what do you say about X-Men?
Man, this is one that was like teetering on my list, like near the end. Yeah, because it counts with Tyler Mane, but I kind of think he's the worst part about that movie. I think his Sabertooth is bland as shit. I think he has more personality as Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie Halloween movie than he does in this damn movie. And I don't think X-Men is the original one has held up terribly well. It has not aged well. There's been way better X-Men movies, like at least 5 or 6 better X-Men movies. I'm torn on it, but I'm going to give it a slight no. Just a slight no.
I will argue that I think Tyler Mane is better than Liev Schreiber as Sabertooth.
I think Liev Schreiber is immensely better. Immensely better in a worse movie.
Jordan, what do you say about X-Men?
Yeah, I forgot about good old Big Sky. Fucking Tyler Mane.
I didn't. I have 2 nominations for Tyler Mane. X-Men was the one. I have another one, but I'm probably not going to bring it. I'll bring it up in the honorable mentions.
The Tyler Mane Sabertooth action figure, but then also using him in my Fig Fed because I was like, hey, that was a WCW guy. I'll give it a slight yes. I really like the first movie. And I think it's I wouldn't say he's the worst part, probably Toad, but it's just a very kind of more minimalist performance, kind of like what you needed from him in Halloween. He does it a lot, evidently. So yeah, I'll give it a slight yes.
Steve, what do you say about X-Men?
I'm gonna have to say no. I agree with Austin. I would have definitely put more Michael Myers over Sabertooth in Tyler Mane performances, and that's not saying a lot in terms of the movie's quality, either one. But like X-Men definitely has not aged. I literally saw this like last week. I'm like, ooh, I can tell this is from the 2000s. So I'm gonna have to say no.
Jacob, what do you say about X-Men?
Fun fact: I'm wearing my X-Men shirt right now. Not because of this, just because it was a shirt in my drawer and I decided to put it on. This is one that I would have nominated. Like, had we have kept going, it's like we need to find one. I do really like this movie. Sabertooth isn't great, but I'm still really conflicted. So what I'm going to do, because if I say no, it's out regardless. So I'm going to say yes. So now it's on Ryan.
Ryan, what do you say about X-Men?
Well, it's quite a character in pop culture, Jacob. Putting this on me, you chose poorly. Because guess what, you motherfuckers? You didn't want Royal Rumble on this list. Well, guess what? This ain't going to be on this fucking list. No, I'm kidding. But
not me. I didn't say no.
But here's still, but legit, this is a no because of 2 things. One, to bring up what was said earlier, these X-Men films, especially Bryan Singer's films, unfortunately do not hold up. And the fact that Jordan and Steve were bringing up the fact they'd rather have Tyler Mane's performance as Michael Myers, to me, it just shows a difference of how he was directed and seeing how Bryan Singer, unfortunately, you get too outside of the X-Men films. Bryan Singer, he's not someone who knows how to work ensembles. Despite Usual Suspects being a great film, you can see the fact that his lack of direction for Sabertooth was just more than just a few lines and then just growling. Despite with Rob Zombie, as much as I don't like his Halloween films personally in my own taste, I do like his own aesthetic for it and how Michael Myers is more of a complex character in his films. So, and also the fact that we're getting more complex, we did have the promise of better X-Men films, but then of course when they got back in the Singer's hands, that just went right into a fucking garbage disposal of mediocrity and crap. I'm throwing too much of my personal bias into this, but it's still a no.
But with that, we move over to Austin. Austin, can you close off this list?
I'm gonna try. I've been pretty good at it in the past. So I'm gonna try. So I'll shoot my shot, and I'll go with a movie that the person that is the subject of the movie, wrestling was a big influence on their life, a big part of their life, and the person that's in it is playing themselves years later. I'm gonna shoot my shot for Man on the Moon, the Jim Carrey film, was starring Jerry the King Lawler. Also, Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, who was a wrestler in Memphis, Tennessee. It was a big part of his life, a big integral part of the movie. In fact, a big set piece of the movie is their wrestling match that they have within the film, and also between Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman having one of the greatest television moments of all time when Jerry slapped him out of the chair on David Letterman's show. It was a big moment for both wrestling and and really put Jerry Lawler on the map as well, even before he got into WWE. I think the movie itself is really good. A really layered performance that, you watch that documentary about it. We're not talking about the documentary, but, it kind of puts the whole movie in another light. So I still think the movie's really good. Jim Carrey's great in it. And Jerry Lawler is an integral part of the story. So I'm going to shoot my shot for to close this out with Man on the Moon.
Jordan, what do you say about Man on the Moon?
Dang, I want to nominate one more, but I do like Man on the Moon. It's a very unique nomination too, because you got Jerry Lawler playing Jerry Lawler. You got Jim Ross in the background as well, and I think it's a really interesting performance. We talked about it recently for Carrey. So I like it. So I'll give it a yes.
Steve, what do you say about Man on the Moon?
The fact that I didn't know that Jerry Lawler's and Andy Kaufman's feud wasn't real was the fact that just says it all for me, because I didn't know that. I was very ignorant when I watched that movie. I was very young when I watched the movie, and that was the first time I figured out, oh, it's a work. Okay, I should have. Who knew? But this movie it's really good. Man on the Moon has a great soundtrack. It has great performances from Danny DeVito, Paul Giamatti, Jim Carrey, Courtney Love. And I really, really, really do adore this movie, for sure. Directed by Milos Forman, and he does a great job. It has wrestling. Jerry Lawler, David Letterman. Enough said. Moving on. Way to close the list, Austin.
Jacob, what do you say about Man on the Moon?
I'm a little torn because I also want to nominate a couple more things, but realize I might not be able to because. If this doesn't, JPO and Steve might get something that's really good too. I do really like this movie. It's one of Jim Carrey's better performances. I like a couple better, but not much better. I'll go ahead and say yes. Why not? Get it on there.
Nice.
Man on the Moon does make this list. Ryan, what would you have said?
They should call me the closer kid here on Take 3 Productions, because I've done it many, many times. Mesa remembers The Sixth Sense, don't you, Mesa? Close that thing out with that horror series. There you go.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just trying to pull legs here. I also would have given this a yes as well, because there was two other films. And Man on the Moon was another one of them I would have nominated on this list because of the real life. Because this film is not only a biopic of Andy Kaufman, but you can also say that it is given an honest portrayal. Like, it's not doing this whole happy ending kind of thing like most biopics do. This one is being very real, looking at him, especially the whole, like, once it gets to their rivalry, you do see exactly like the impact. The film shows the impact it's having. Maybe it references it. But you do see that the fact that Jerry Lawler has said in interviews, and especially you see in the film, that, it's a work. The whole thing was done, to not only just to draw attention, but for the sakes of comedy. But the fact that people were taking it seriously, you saw that. And I do like that when this movie was being promoted, they were doing behind-the-scenes interviews with actors, and Lawler spoke about meeting Jim Carrey and how Jim Carrey was so method into it that Lawler couldn't help but laugh. And not because the fact he was trying to be so method being Andy Kaufman. So this is a yes.
And Jerry Lawler said, for real, when they got to the scene where they reenacted the David Letterman slap, he slapped the shit out of him for being an asshole on set. For real, in that scene. He said, I pasted that.
That shows he's a professional on set. So
yeah. Right.
Like,
exactly. He's like, I'm gonna get my comeuppance right here. Boom. Yeah.
But yeah, ever since I did the Jim Carrey tier ranker fights, I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen Man on the Moon then. I still haven't seen Man on the Moon. I have tried to check it. I have tried to search it out since. Just haven't found it anywhere. But Jordan, what honorable mentions did you have?
Yeah, let's see, things I would have shouted out. I might even try to nominate Fight with My Family for The Rock. I love that movie. I think it's a great depiction of wrestling. But I mean, if we're talking about actual like roles, so I didn't mention it. Peanut Butter Falcon, I would have mentioned. Fucking lovely movie. Jake Roberts and Mick Foley having good arcs towards the end there, and just a really well-spirited movie. We never mentioned Bonesaw for Spider-Man. Would have been great. Waterboy was kind of vaguely mentioned earlier, and MacGruber kind of come up with my mind. A big novel that all died except for the show he's on.
Steve, what honorable mentions did you have?
I mean, JPL mentioned it. Ooh, Bonesaw ready. You got 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been definitely one of the ones I mentioned. Just the fact that
I would have said that too, Leo.
Also, I probably would have mentioned Kevin Nash as the Russian in The Punisher, the best Punisher movie ever. Don't care what anybody says. And I would have also mentioned Ox Baker as Slag from Escape from New York. He plays that tall bearded dude that Kurt Russell just freaking axed just to end the fight already. I would have mentioned that because just to get Escape from New York on this list. So those were my honorable mentions.
Jacob, what honorable mentions did you have?
Yeah, I had a couple. The Waterboy would have been the next one that I would have brought up. See No Evil with Kane, and then like just the personal. It would not have gone in, but I would have loved to just talked about it. Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain with Hulk Hogan. But then my personal Rock pick would have been Gridiron Gang.
Ryan, what honorable mentions did you have?
I actually would have suggested a Hulk Hogan film as well. That's his role as Thunder Lips in Rocky 3. I also would have suggested the Peanut Butter Falcon, Kane and See No Evil, and we all talk about wrestlers, or at least I also would have recommended a Friday starring Zeus, who played Debo, because he is he had a short stint as a wrestler, and he is an integral part of that movie. So if let's say Band the Moon was known and gotten to me, I would have used Friday as a Hail Mary attempt.
Fair enough.
Yeah, for me, Friday was definitely on my list. I was debating whether I should try for that or X-Men. Hobbs and Shaw for me is the better Fast and the Furious movie. I had a lot of fun with that. Waterboy was definitely the Adam Sandler movie for wrestling that I was going to bring up. Expendables, I was going to possibly bring up at some stage. I think that's a lot of fun. One that I'm pretty sure probably wouldn't have got in, but I had a lot of fun with these animated straight to DVD movies. Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery, Curse of the Speed Demon, and the Flintstones that all did crossovers WWE. They were all a lot of fun. And the last one I'll bring up, Tony Helm was a Finnish wrestler who is apparently a politician now. He was in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
That's right.
Yeah. Ludwig Borga.
Yeah,
Big Borga.
that one.
Oh,
But,
maybe Fighting with My Family could have been another recommendation.
I thought that's Ryan. That's where you were going when you started talking about family. I thought you were going to Fight with My Family. I thought you were going to nominate that one.
No,
and then you said the Fast Five.
I wanted to, but I figured you all would say no because you can only really nominate The Rock.
No, I have another friend. I have a friend who's a wrestling fan, and he's also a big Fast and Furious fan. So,
gotcha.
off chance he was watching this, I'm talking about family.
Yeah.
Popped up in the chat.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna consider bringing up Fighting for My Family at one stage, but yeah, like as Jordan said, like The Rock is probably the only one there. As soon as Fast Five got on,
We could have. You could have gone Selena Vega as AJ Lee.
Yeah. Also,
yeah.
you see,
right.
Start the show over again.
yeah.
It's too late.
Fucking
But
Francis.
anyway, Austin, what else did you have on your list?
Yeah, the only stuff I had on my list still was all stuff kind of on the lower end, but The Running Man with both Jesse Ventura and Professor Toru Tanaka as Sub-Zero and Captain Freedom. It's a fun movie. The Devil's Rejects, I think, is still Rob Zombie's best movie, and it has both Tyler Mane and Diamond Dallas Page as one of the Unholy Two with Danny Trejo, and he's actually really good in that movie. And like I said, still Rob Zombie's best movie. So I maybe would have shot my shot had we gone around for Devil's Rejects. The Punisher, I would have backed up Friday as well. And Troy, I'm a big fan of Troy, and it features both Tyler Mane as Ajax, the guy with the big sledgehammer. He's really great. He has a fun fight scene with Eric Bana. He's actually a lot of fun in that movie. And Nathan Jones is in the beginning as Boagrius, who he fights.
I could have thrown some Jet Li films with Nathan Jones in it.
Yeah, Fearless, yeah, with Nathan Jones, yeah, he's been in some good movies. The Protectors,
The new
a fun
Mortal
movie.
Kombat, Nathan Jones.
No, dude.
Yeah.
From Mad Max.
Oh, Mad Max Fury Road. Nathan Jones is
Show over again.
yeah, right. There you go.
But anyway, ones that have come up in the chat. One that I'm pretty sure Austin is glad that never came up. Nacho Libre.
No, fuck that movie.
Cena Evil. Santa's Sleigh.
Kurgan in Pacific
Rim.
Yeah,
that movie sucks.
Kurgan and Becky.
Zeus was also in the first Universal Soldier, so.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, start the show over.
Nah.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that too, Brian. Hulk Hogan's little scene in Gremlins 2 at that movie theater.
I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, Jungle All the Way is the sequel.
Leo mentions Triple H and Blade Trinity.
That film's a train wreck.
Unfortunately, Triple H is not that
Welcome
big
to us reacting to the comment section. No, get out of here.
No.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. If I was going to bring up a Triple H movie, I'll probably bring up The Chaperone before I even.
Sadly, The Chaperone is his best.
Yeah.
Maybe. Still not good.
Inside Out's kind of a wreck too, and Blade Trinity's a wreck.
All right, here we go. Get your whiteboards ready, folks.
Now we move over to the.
I forgot about that.
Just to recap the 12 movies that are on this list, we've got The Godfather, The Wrestler, They Live, The Predator.
Predator, not The Predator.
We've got so many saving of that on this
Not
list.
that garbage movie.
That Princess Bride, that Suicide Squad, that Ed Wood, that Warrior,
The Warrior,
The Longest Yard, that Fast Five, and that Man on
The Man in the Moon.
Yeah,
which I'm pretty sure is an extra movie starring either Reese Witherspoon or Renee Zellweger back in the early days.
The Man in the Moon.
Malcolm, that'd be a fun rank on all movies that start with the.
I mean,
8,000
it's an
movies.
idea. I've already thought of that. I might actually have planned for a poll for an upcoming poll later. But anyway, awesome. What do you have for number 12?
I think the weakest movie on this list, I still like it, but The Longest Yard should be number 12.
Jordan.
I didn't write it down, but I agree. Longest Yard.
Steve.
I also concur. The Longest Yard.
Jacob.
Fast Five.
Ryan.
For the views, Longest Yard.
Fast Five. The Longest Yard is going to be 12.
Okay.
The rest are all pretty bangers.
Yeah, I kind of like pretty much all these movies. Yeah.
Yeah, like that seems obvious to me, but the rest are all pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, everything's just going to be like a literal dragged out fight now.
But Jordan, what do you have for 11?
I'd say, but Man on the Moon.
Steve.
I'm going to say Predator.
Jacob.
I didn't have enough time to change my answer. Fast Five.
Ryan.
It might go on this list, but I'm only picking this because this out of all these films is the one I've just not seen. Ed Wood.
Fast 5, Austin.
So,
I would have said the Suicide Squad.
Fast 5 is going to be at 11.
Mm.
Steve, what do you have for 10?
Predator.
Jacob.
Ed Wood.
Ryan.
Ed Wood.
It's a shame. You guys seen Ed Wood, you wouldn't be saying that.
Predator.
Well, I know that's why
Austin.
I'm nominated.
I know. Man on the Moon.
Man on the Moon.
So
A three-way
we've got
tie.
So this comments, it's going to be down to you to break this tie. The first comment I see for either the Predator, Man on the Moon, or Ed Wood is the one that's going to be at number 10.
I'm tempted to cheat and just run over to the chat real quick.
Yeah, run it up. I had it pulled up. Be like, Austin says Man on the Moon. He puts it on the screen.
Nessa Media says Predator.
Yeah.
Leo came in first with Man on the Moon.
You're right, Leo.
You broke my heart, Leo.
You on the money, Leo. You on the money.
Leo, what?
But Jacob, what do you have for 9?
Ed Wood.
Ryan.
Well, it hasn't changed. Ed Wood.
Predator, Austin.
Here we go.
The Suicide Squad.
And
Damn.
Predator.
Ed Wood.
It's only because y'all ain't seen it.
I saw it. I like everything else a little bit more.
I very much recommend Ed Wood. It's very, very good. But I'm glad I made this list. I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
I recommend everything on this list.
It's
long
in
as
the
you're
top
right.
10, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole 10. The top 10, all big
Yeah,
recommendations.
they're all good.
Ryan, what do you have for 8?
One Predator.
Predator, Austin.
Oh, you guys are nuts. The Suicide Squad.
You're
Jordan.
nuts. They live.
Steve.
Predator.
Wow.
Jacob.
I refuse to agree that Predator is worse than the Suicide Squad.
This is not about worse. It's just where we find it should be on the list.
We are ranking.
Yeah. Predator should be higher. Yeah, you are ranking. You're saying the Suicide Squad is better than Predator. That's what you were saying. You are
This is
saying
involving the wrestler involved, not the film as a whole, gentlemen.
now we're talking about the movies. Now that it's already there.
That's you. I'm focusing on the wrestler involved.
All right, well, that's your call. We are not doing it.
I mean, you can vote
I'm
for
not doing
whatever
that.
reason you want.
Starring wrestlers.
I'm voting mostly for spite. Of
I mean, I am legitimately saying
It was for
Suicide
spite. I would
Suicide
have
Squad
paid for
is better
all
than
your
Predator.
votes because you said no to Royal Rumble.
Wait, everyone.
See, you're not even saying the movie right. You're not even saying the movie right. Your own movie, you're not even saying it right. You're saying Royal Rumble. It's ready to rumble.
Because of all those
There's nothing to
wrestlers
do.
in there, it literally is a Royal Rumble, especially at the last match.
I mean,
See, if this was trivia, you'd be incorrect because you would have said the movie wrong. You'd be incorrect. You'd have an incorrect answer.
I mean,
I'd be
you could
correct,
probably,
but
I
I
mean,
still
you could
get to
probably
finish
argue somewhere in the world it might be titled Royal Rumble. We don't know, but anyway,
Can I have nominated Scream?
for number 7, I've
Yes,
got the
I
Princess.
think you could have.
Austin, what do you have for 7?
The Suicide Squad.
Jordan, Steve,
Warrior.
Jacob,
The Suicide Squad.
and Ryan.
Well, this is going to be on the chat because I said Warrior.
So we've got 2 for the Suicide Squad, 2 for Warrior, and So before we go to the chat, Jordan, the Suicide Squad or the or Warrior?
Ooh.
Remember, which is the worst of the two?
Right. So Suicide Squad.
It's worse than Warrior.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Warrior. I want to give props to like a real good film, like a pretty film.
Yeah, it is going to be the Suicide Squad is also what I'm going to go with as well.
I love Suicide Squad.
If y'all play Telltale, if y'all have ever played Telltale games, I'd have a little pop up that would says Ryan will remember that.
The fact that Goldfinger, I'll remember the fact that JPO turned down Goldfinger. You remember this?
He never speaks. It could have been any other dude.
So.
And guess what, guys? Evan Nash could have been played by somebody else. Yeah,
Evan Nash has
anyway.
plenty of roles where he doesn't speak, and they were more moving than his role in John Wick.
No, because you're happy Francis lives.
But anyway, just to
the Russian is killed.
Yeah.
Just to recap the 6 movies that are left, we got The Godfather, The Wrestler, They Live, The Princess Bride, Warrior, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Austin, what do you have for number 6?
Princess Bride.
Jordan.
They Live.
Steve.
Warrior.
Jacob.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow,
Ryan.
Warrior.
The Princess Bride.
I swear to God.
Jordan. The Princess Bride or Warrior?
To get out of here, Warrior.
Jacob, The Princess Bride or Warrior?
No, I'm kidding. Warrior.
So we are going to go to the chat. The first comment I see for either Warrior or The Princess Bride is
why we both agreed. We both agreed.
Oh,
I joked at first. Malcolm, I'm sorry the joke went over your head.
Nothing goes over my head. I just grab it. But 6 is going to be Warrior. Sorry, chat, you don't get to decide this one.
Sorry, Chad. I wasn't trying to take it away from you. I just was confused. Hey guys, quit overrating They Live. Come on.
They Live rocks.
I'll do that next time I'm drinking my
properly rated.
Not as much as the rest of
Number 1.
But anyway, Jordan, what do you have for 5?
They Live.
It does. Steve, what do you have for 5?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Jacob.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ryan.
Let's sweep this bottom row. Guardians of the Galaxy.
The Princess Bride. Austin.
Princess Bride.
Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be 5. So we've got The Princess Bride, The Godfather, The Wrestler, and They Live left. Steve.
Wait, what's left again?
The Godfather, The Wrestler, The Princess Bride, and They Live.
All right, give me a second.
But Steve, what do you have?
Right.
Jacob.
The Princess Bride.
Ryan.
The Wrestler.
The Princess Bride. Austin.
Sticking with it. The Princess Bride.
And Jordan.
Right.
It says They Live.
Yeah.
I'm coming after everything y'all love now. I'm coming after everything
Well, you
you love.
voted for the Wrestler.
Yeah, he said The Wrestler. Much different movie.
That's the movie about me, the Wrestler.
Bride. You talk about They Live being overhyped. The Wrestler is overhyped.
Yeah, but you voted for the Wrestler.
I'm telling you, you can't read. It says Wrestler.
You do not have an L in there, dude.
You did not.
Anyway, before we get into arguing about missing L's or if it's, I don't know.
Guys, they're
Ryan,
online
what do you
shirts
have for
without
free?
clothing in the chat.
It doesn't change. The wrestler.
You put that L in.
They live.
The wrestler.
Jordan.
They live.
Steve.
The wrestler.
Jacob.
The wrestler.
There you go.
The wrestler is going to be at 3, which means we come down to 2, which is the Godfather and They Live.
But don't we vote for number 1? Isn't that where we vote for number 1?
Yeah, we're going to go straight to number 1.
Oh, race.
So don't change your board if you have.
No.
You shouldn't have said that. Because swerve.
They're going to be hilarious. Number 9, he never changes board once.
You know what?
Steve.
You know what? I'm gonna be anarchist. I'm gonna put They Live number 1.
You're high.
Jacob.
They live.
High.
Ryan.
Not yet.
I'm never gonna go out bubblegum for this. They live.
You guys are crazy.
The Godfather. Austin.
I kind of love the anarchy of where this is going, but The Godfather's a better movie than They Live.
We're going to the
Like,
chat.
if y'all are being real.
Jordan.
Chad, let's be honest. What's a better film?
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on.
I
I like the anarchy of They Live, but They Live is not even John Carpenter's best movie. It's the thing. Come on, like,
Yeah, it's really not, guys. Like, it drags a little
I
bit.
don't give a
It's kind of
fuck.
wonky. Come on, guys.
Let's go,
So-
anarchist.
Art is subjective, just like wrestling. It's subjective.
It is. It very much is. But this is.
So,
I go back to watch They Live more.
I didn't have to call out to the chat. The first comment that had popped up underneath
Was a
Stephen
porn bot.
Shepard's comment predicting what's going to be number 1 is Leo Logan for They Live.
Yes.
Redemption, Leo. Redemption.
You're all banned from film criticism from now on.
Pew, 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 pew.
Wait, where's my
Sorry.
special sunglasses?
Shenanigans.
You guys just-
Steve has a
you
They Live
guys just
movie
earned
right
yourselves a new punchline that I'm going to remember. You said They Live was better than The Godfather. I'm just going to keep that in
now.
mind.
Yeah, I would
for
never
the
meet
rest
any
of
of you
eternity.
in movie
Austin
debates.
will
That's the
remember
first
It's
thing I'm
shorter
Although-
than The Godfather, and it.
I don't forget.
Although, in saying that, Austin, we can actually, it's the chat's fault this time.
No, it's still because they all voted for that. It's 3-3.
Yeah,
Send it to the
Go
chat.
to the chat. Go
Yeah.
to them.
You guys couldn't be honest with yourselves.
I was honest with myself.
But anyway, just to recap our top 12 movies starring wrestlers. At number 12, not The Longest Yard. At 11, we got Fast 5. At 10, we got Man on the Moon. At 9, we got Ed Wood. At 8, we got Predator. At 7, we got The Suicide Squad. At 6, we got Warrior. At 5, we got Guardians of the Galaxy. At 4, we got The Princess Bride. At 3, we got The Warrior, The Wrestler. At 2, we got The Godfather. And number 1 is They Live. But that being said, that's the end of ranking for this week. Vote in the poll and for what topic you want for next week. Austin, where can people find you online?
A lot of places. Well, most immediately, I think I'm meeting Ryan over there in the DC Battleground match coming up on Monday, so we'll have some fun with that. I've never fought him before, so that should be fun. But on a more pressing thing, as far as YouTube channels go, the Movie Hero Network, I do with Jordan Anderson. We do tier ranker fights, tournament fights, and the newest sensation that's sweeping the internet, Top 12 Frenzy, which we'll be doing next Tuesday night, I believe. So that's a lot of fun. And myself and Henry Confidential also have a ranking show called Let's Rank Stuff. We don't have numbers or anything. We just pick a topic. This week we're going to be doing Guillermo del Toro films. We've done Alien versus Predator. We've thrown all those in a ranking. We've done the Saw films. We've done the Rambo films, Rocky, you name it. We've done a whole lot of stuff, so go check that out. Let's Rank Stuff over on Henry Confidential's channel as well.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Jordan Anderson will tune in for Del Toro.
Yeah, no. He's not a fan. I'm not much of a fan either, to be honest, but we're still doing it. So yeah,
we'll find out on the show. Jordan, we can be for you online.
Yes. Always my love popping up on everyone's channels here. Yours, Pez's. I think I believe I might be hosting that top 12 frenzy on Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
So that'll be fun. Of course, my channel's the Pierce Co. Movie trivia Monday. That was my comment, by the way. Monday,
I know.
Monday, we're covering 100 episodes of movie trivia. We're gonna have a big old melee brawl to the death in a cage. As well as a podcast, a show about shows. We'll be dropping our new episode tonight. We're reviewing Licorice Pizza and a whole bunch of stuff. New Texas Chainsaw, and then of course Pierce Wrestling. We got wrestling trivia over there, exclusive matches, exclusive podcasts with wrestlers throughout the country, and also on your local street corner because life is hard.
Steve, we can people find you online.
Well, when I'm not screwing votes out from Austin and Jordan when it comes to the Godfather, and when Jordan's not screwing me out of the Goldfinger, you can find me at Mesa Media One. We are the best Florida-based Florida wrestling production company you will ever hear of, courtesy of Mesa Media. Also, I am partaking in this fracas, this melee, this mayhem that's occurring on Monday. Wrestling with Trivia. No, my bad. Show about trivia. 100 episodes. We got it going on. Come check it out. It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Yes, everyone's invited. If you can make it Monday at 10 p.m., everyone's invited. It's gonna be a melee.
Everybody, let's go. Let's bring all the peoples.
Jacob, we can be for you online.
You can find me all over the place. TMG Entertainment. I help out with all the debate stuff. Judge occasionally, compete occasionally also. I also do a weekly sports show called TMG Takes the Field. And then also TMG Trivia. I run singles and teams. We are in the middle of our singles tournament where Steve lost like in the very first match ever of that tournament. Way to go, Steve. But this week next week we will be having Robbie Moore, a newcomer, first alternate used in this tournament, going up against Calvin Shepard.
Ryan, we can people find you online.
Me under the bus like Papa.
Okay. People can definitely find me on Twitter, username caramel_pain. I'm not on there a lot, but I do engage in conversation. If you ever want to bring up a topic and you want to message me about, you guys can find me. I have a wrestling podcast I co-host with my buddy James Shimo. It is called Wrestling Ramblings and Rages. We have our two most recent episodes up, which is our best and worst of 2021. The show is available on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, Anchor, Google Podcast, Breaker. I'd say wherever you find your podcast, but let's be honest, there's a limited range. And find me on TMG. Like to mimic a NXT wrestler, Pete Dunne, I have the longest reigning championship reign ever in TMG. No pun intended. Can't wait to see who comes out at the end of this tournament who I can defend my championship. And also you can find me around the fan leagues because I'm practically stretched myself out pretty thin. And then also upcoming Monday in the movie battleground in the DC Films Exhibition, I will be going up against Austin. And I don't know if he's in the chat, but I know he pops up every now and then, Chris Diaz, as we are just going to throw ourselves to the grind and talk straight Batman up with DC movies.
Chris actually wasn't in the chat this time around.
It was wrestlers.
Yeah, he doesn't know wrestling that much. Yeah, he's not great with that. And one trivia match I was in, Jordan, that one time where he was just guessing, like you had, it was just, it was not pretty.
But anyway, you can find me on Take 3 Productions. I host Rankum every Saturday. Maybe going to move this to Sundays shortly, but until the and I'll make an announcement if I decide to change days. I'll do this. I'm planning on bringing back late night in March. That is a fact. I just haven't decided a topic. Maybe a certain bet might inspire me. But yeah. And you can find me over on Full Metal where I host trivia and I pop up on everyone else's stuff. I think I'm also going to be in that 100 episode thing. But yeah. But until next time, be a better person, everyone. We don't need negativity in this world. Be a better person.